The third party thought they had your soulmate, until your soulmate made a secret choice about you. My beloved child, listen carefully, because this message is reaching you at a moment when something hidden is beginning to come into the light. There has been a situation around your soulmate that you could not fully understand. You may have sensed distance, silence, confusion, hesitation, or a strange change in their behavior, but you were never given the complete story. You saw pieces, you felt emotions, and you noticed signs, but you did not see everything that was happening behind the scenes. My beloved child, the third party believed they had your soulmate exactly where they wanted them. They became comfortable with the attention, the connection, the conversations, and the emotional space they believed they had created. They looked at your soulmate's silence and misunderstood it as a permanent decision. They looked at the distance between you and your soulmate and assumed that the connection between you had finally disappeared. They thought time was on their side. They thought your soulmate would eventually forget what they felt for you. They thought the uncertainty would become permanent. But what they did not understand was that silence does not always mean surrender. Sometimes silence is where a person finally confronts the truth inside their own heart. Your soulmate has been carrying thoughts they did not know how to express. They have replayed memories. They have remembered moments with you. They have questioned decisions they once believed were right. They have wondered why, despite everything around them, your presence continued to return to their thoughts. And my beloved child, there is something important you need to understand. A person can distract themselves from a feeling, but distraction does not always destroy the feeling. Your soulmate may have tried to focus elsewhere. They may have allowed another person to become a temporary source of comfort. They may have convinced themselves that moving forward would be easier than facing the emotions connected to you. But deep inside, the unanswered questions remained. Why did your name still appear in their thoughts? Why did certain memories suddenly become powerful again? Why did ordinary places, songs, conversations, or moments remind them of you? Why did they feel something missing even when someone else was standing beside them? My beloved child, this is where the story begins to change. The third party believed the situation was settled, but your soulmate began to recognize that something was not settled at all. There was an emotional truth they had avoided for too long. And when a person can no longer run from the truth within themselves, eventually they must make a choice. That choice may begin quietly. It may not be announced to everyone. It may happen through a private conversation, a sudden withdrawal, a decision to stop entertaining certain behavior, or simply a realization that they cannot continue living between two emotional realities. Your soulmate has reached a point where pretending is becoming more difficult than admitting the truth. My beloved child, do not become obsessed with what the third party is doing. Do not spend your energy imagining every conversation or trying to decode every movement. Your power is not in watching them. Your power is in understanding that what is meant to become clear will become clear without you destroying your peace to discover it. The third party may have believed they were winning because they could see your soulmate physically near them or because they received attention from them. But proximity is not the same as emotional certainty. A person can sit beside someone while thinking about another person. A person can laugh with someone while carrying an entirely different emotion inside. A person can appear comfortable while privately questioning whether they are living the life they truly want. Your soulmate has been learning this difference. They have been learning that comfort is not always connection, attention is not always love, and familiarity is not always destiny. There was something about you that they could not easily replace. Perhaps they did not understand it at first. Perhaps they thought they could simply move forward and leave everything behind. But memories have a way of returning when the heart has unfinished business. My beloved child, there are moments when your soulmate has remembered your kindness, your voice, your patience, your energy, or the way you made them feel understood. They may remember something small that you had forgotten completely. A sentence. A look. A conversation. A simple moment when you were there for them. These things may appear insignificant to the outside world, but inside your soulmate they became emotional markers. They remind them of a version of themselves that existed around you. And that is one reason why the third party could not completely erase your presence. They could occupy time, but they could not rewrite history. They could create new memories, but they could not erase the old ones. They could offer attention, but they could not guarantee emotional fulfillment. My beloved child, your soulmate has been comparing what they feel with what they expected to feel. This comparison has created discomfort. They may have told themselves that everything was fine, yet something inside kept saying that something was missing. They may have tried to ignore that voice because admitting it would require difficult decisions. It would mean facing consequences. It would mean acknowledging that they had not been completely honest with themselves. It would mean accepting that another person's presence could not solve an emotional question that had existed before that person arrived. The third party may have sensed the change. They may have noticed your soulmate becoming quieter. They may have noticed fewer messages, less excitement, less emotional availability, or more hesitation. They may have asked questions. They may have tried harder to hold the connection together. They may have increased their attention because they sensed that something was slipping away. But my beloved child, when someone begins to question a connection from within, no amount of external pressure can permanently restore certainty. Your soulmate's decision is not about who can fight harder. It is about what they can no longer deny. There is a reason this situation has felt confusing. You were looking at the visible part of the story while your soulmate was living through the invisible part. You saw silence. They were experiencing conflict. You saw distance. They were experiencing reflection. You saw another person. They were questioning why another person could not fill the space they thought would disappear. You may have believed that the third party had an advantage because they were physically present, but emotional presence is different from physical presence. My beloved child, never underestimate the power of an unresolved emotional connection. Your soulmate may have tried to place your connection into the past, but their heart kept reopening the file. They remembered you when they least expected it. They thought about what might have happened if they had made different choices. They wondered whether they had walked away from something meaningful because they were afraid, confused, pressured, or emotionally immature. They began to realize that avoiding a decision was itself a decision. And this realization became increasingly uncomfortable. There comes a moment when a person can no longer remain between two paths without feeling the weight of both. Your soulmate has been approaching that moment. The third party may have assumed that hesitation meant your soulmate would never choose you. But hesitation can sometimes mean that a person is afraid of the consequences of choosing what they truly want. Fear is not always evidence of lack of feeling. Sometimes fear exists because the feeling is stronger than the person knows how to handle. My beloved child, this does not mean you should wait endlessly or put your life on hold. It means you should understand the emotional dynamics without allowing them to control your peace. Your journey is bigger than this triangle. Your worth does not depend on whether your soulmate chooses you today, tomorrow, or at all. You are valuable before anyone makes a decision about you. You are worthy before anyone recognizes your importance. And if your soulmate is truly meant to return to your life in a healthy way, their return must be accompanied by clarity, accountability, honesty, and consistent action. Words alone are not enough. Promises alone are not enough. Emotional moments are not enough. The secret choice your soulmate is making must eventually become visible through behavior. My beloved child, this is why you should not chase signs while ignoring reality. You can appreciate meaningful moments, but you must also remain grounded. If your soulmate has been confused, let them work through that confusion. If they have been influenced by another person, let them recognize that influence themselves. If they have made mistakes, let them take responsibility. You cannot do their emotional work for them. The third party may have tried to create a sense of security by convincing your soulmate that the connection between you was over. They may have spoken about you in ways that made your soulmate question their own feelings. They may have emphasized the past, highlighted your mistakes, or suggested that returning to you would only create complications. But eventually a person must separate someone else's opinion from their own truth. Your soulmate has been learning to do exactly that. They are beginning to recognize which thoughts are genuinely theirs and which thoughts were planted through pressure, fear, convenience, or manipulation. My beloved child, when S answer was not as simple as they expected. They may have realized that your connection still carries emotional weight. They may have realized that they never fully closed the door. They may have realized that part of them was still waiting for an opportunity to speak honestly. And this is why the third party's confidence has begun to weaken. They thought they possessed certainty, but they only possessed circumstances. They thought they had your soulmate because your soulmate was available to them. But availability does not equal commitment. They thought they had one because you were not present. But absence does not equal replacement. My beloved child, sometimes a person does not understand the value of something until they experience life without it. Your soulmate may have needed distance to recognize what your presence meant. They may have needed another connection to understand what genuine compatibility felt like. They may have needed silence to hear the thoughts they had been avoiding. None of this means that pain was necessary or that mistakes were acceptable. It simply means that people often learn through consequences. Your soulmate has been learning through the emotional consequences of their choices. They have seen what happens when they avoid difficult conversations. They have experienced what happens when they allow someone else to influence their decisions. They have discovered that running from emotional truth does not make the truth disappear. My beloved child, there is also something happening within you. While your soulmate has been facing their internal conflict, you have been changing. You may not realize how much stronger you have become. The version of you that once needed immediate answers may now be learning patience. The version of you that once wanted to chase may now be learning to stand still. The version of you that once measured your worth through someone else's attention may now be learning that your value exists independently. This transformation matters. Because if your soulmate returns, they should meet a stronger, wiser, more grounded version of you. And if they do not return, you will still be standing in your own strength. My beloved child, never let a soulmate story become an excuse to abandon yourself. Love should expand your life, not consume it. Hope should inspire you, not imprison you. Faith should give you peace, not make you obsess over every sign. You can believe that something meaningful may happen while still living fully today. The third party's story is not your assignment. Your assignment is your healing, your growth, your peace, and your future. Your soulmate's secret choice may eventually become visible, but you do not need to force it into existence. Let actions reveal intentions. Let consistency reveal commitment. Let time expose what is real. My beloved child, there may come a moment when your soulmate finally speaks about what happened. They may admit that they were confused. They may admit that they tried to move forward. They may admit that another person became involved. They may admit that they thought they could forget you. And they may also admit that the attempt did not work emotionally. If that conversation comes, listen carefully. Do not allow emotion to erase discernment. Ask yourself whether their actions support their words. Ask whether they are willing to repair what was damaged. Ask whether they understand the impact of their choices. Ask whether they are returning because they genuinely want a healthy connection or because they simply became uncomfortable with the third party. There is a difference. You deserve a choice made from clarity, not desperation. My beloved child, if your soulmate chooses you, let them choose you completely. Not secretly forever. Not halfway. Not when convenient. Not only when lonely. A real choice eventually becomes visible. It carries responsibility. It carries honesty. It carries effort. It carries consistency. And if they are not ready for that, you are allowed to protect your heart. Your love does not require you to accept less than what you deserve. The third party may have thought your soulmate would never make this decision, but your soulmate is learning that avoiding a decision has consequences. They may have reached a point where staying in an uncertain situation feels more painful than facing the truth. This is often where transformation begins. A person becomes tired of explaining away their own feelings. They become tired of pretending. They become tired of maintaining an image that no longer matches their inner reality. They begin to understand that peace cannot be built on denial. My beloved child, your soulmate may have looked at the third party and realized that something was missing. Not necessarily because the third party was a bad person, but because the connection itself did not answer the deeper question in their heart. This is important. You do not need to make the third party your enemy. You do not need to wish them harm. You do not need to compete with them. Your destiny is not determined by defeating another person. If your soulmate chooses you, it should be because of genuine clarity, not because you won a competition. Love is not a battlefield where one person must destroy another to become worthy. Your worth was never dependent on the third party losing. My beloved child, release the need to compare yourself. The third party may have different qualities. They may communicate differently. They may spend more time with your soulmate. They may appear more confident. They may show their relationship publicly. None of these things determine the depth of your value. Your journey cannot be measured by someone else's appearance. You are not required to become someone else to be chosen. The right relationship should allow you to be authentic. And your soulmate must eventually learn that authenticity is more valuable than convenience. There may have been moments when your soulmate chose comfort over courage. They chose silence over honesty. They chose avoidance over confrontation. But every person eventually reaches a moment when their choices become impossible to ignore. That moment is approaching. My beloved child, do not be surprised if the situation changes suddenly after a long period of apparent stillness. Sometimes a person can remain silent for weeks or months and then make a decision in one conversation. The decision may have been developing internally for a long time. The outside world sees the final moment, but the heart experienced the entire journey. Your soulmate's secret choice may therefore seem sudden to others, but to them it may feel like the conclusion of months of internal conflict. The third party may be shocked because they only saw the surface. They saw what your soulmate allowed them to see. They did not see every private thought. They did not hear every internal question. They did not witness every memory of you. They did not know every time your soulmate wondered whether they had made the wrong choice. My beloved child, that is why you should not judge your story solely by what has been visible. There is always more happening inside a human heart than outsiders can see. But remember, hidden emotions are not the same as guaranteed outcomes. Your soulmate may have feelings, but feelings must eventually become mature decisions. This is why your patience should never become blind waiting. Keep living. Keep growing. Keep creating. Keep taking care of yourself. Let your soulmate confront their own heart while you continue building your own future. My beloved child, if they are truly ready, they will find a way to demonstrate it. They will communicate. They will take responsibility. They will create space for you. They will stop hiding behind confusion. They will not ask you to compete. They will not demand that you accept secrecy indefinitely. They will show you through consistent action that their decision is real. And if they are not ready, their lack of action will also tell you something. Either way, you gain clarity. The third party may have believed they were safe because they assumed your soulmate's indecision would continue forever. But people change when consequences become unavoidable. Your soulmate has been confronted with the emotional cost of remaining divided. They have begun to understand that keeping two realities alive creates pain for everyone. They may now desire simplicity, truth, and emotional honesty. My beloved child, this does not guarantee a particular future, but it does show that the situation is moving toward greater clarity. The hidden cannot remain hidden forever. Eventually words are spoken. Decisions are made. Relationships either deepen or end. And truth has a way of revealing itself. Your role is not to force the revelation. Your role is to remain grounded enough to recognize it when it comes. There may be a moment when your soulmate looks at your name on their phone and hesitates before reaching out. They may type something and delete it. They may wonder whether you would respond. They may fear rejection because they know they were not perfect. They may fear that you have moved on. They may wonder whether they still have a place in your life. These thoughts can become stronger as they recognize that the connection with you was never completely erased. My beloved child, if that moment comes, remember that you do not have to respond from old pain. You can respond from wisdom. You can hear them without immediately giving them everything. You can allow trust to rebuild slowly. You can require consistency. You can protect your peace. A reunion does not have to repeat the old story. If something is meant to be rebuilt, it can be rebuilt differently. It can be based on communication instead of assumptions, honesty instead of secrecy, stability instead of confusion, and mutual effort instead of one person carrying the emotional weight. The third PA. Disappointing people. It requires stepping into uncertainty. But your soulmate is beginning to understand that living dishonestly is more painful than facing temporary discomfort. The third party may become emotional when they sense this shift. They may ask why things changed. They may remind your soulmate of everything they have shared. They may attempt to make them feel guilty. But guilt cannot create genuine love. Fear cannot create genuine commitment. Pressure cannot create genuine emotional connection. If your soulmate chooses you, the choice must come from freedom and clarity. My beloved child, do not wish for the third party to suffer. Wish for truth to prevail. Truth protects everyone eventually. If their relationship is genuine and healthy, truth will strengthen it. If it is built on fear, convenience, or denial, truth will expose that. Either way, truth is better than illusion. And your heart deserves truth too. You deserve to know where you stand. You deserve communication that does not leave you constantly guessing. You deserve a relationship where you are not hidden, compared, or treated as an option. My beloved child, your soulmate's secret choice may begin privately, but the consequences will eventually become visible. Perhaps they will stop participating in conversations that disrespect you. Perhaps they will create boundaries with the third party. Perhaps they will admit that their heart is elsewhere. Perhaps they will finally confront the reality of what they feel. These changes may not happen all at once. They may happen step by step. But every genuine step toward clarity matters. Do not demand that tomorrow look exactly like your imagination. Allow reality to reveal itself. The most important thing is that you remain connected to your own dignity. My beloved child, you have survived uncertainty before. You have survived moments when you thought you would never understand what was happening. You have survived silence. You have survived disappointment. You have survived days when your heart wanted answers that never came. And yet you are still here. That means you are stronger than the situation. Your life is